kind of talked about, foundationally what a tree was, what encompassed it, the definition of it. It was a perennial, but it was like its own classification of perennial. And today I want to talk about clean air, and that's one of those things, like I said, you ask somebody to name a tree, they can name a tree. You ask somebody what a tree does, vast majority of people will say, oh, it cleans the air, but they don't really know how. And that's fine. Again, you don't have to know how it's done to appreciate it. It's not like, you go for a walk in the forest or on those hill and they're like, how do the trees clean the air? You're like, I don't know. They're like, get the heck out of here. I don't know everything about nature and science, but it doesn't stop me from appreciating everything that nature has to offer. So I thought what we would do is we would discuss exactly how the tree does it, and the purpose and the different ways it does it. So the easiest one to start with is, I'm just going to grab some random colors here, is, we've talked about this a lot and we will always talk about it, is photosynthesis. And photosynthesis, we know the plant needs water, it needs light, but it needs carbon dioxide. So it needs CO2. And it takes that gas in, and that gas isn't good for us. We don't like CO2. And it takes CO2 in, and what it does is it gives us oxygen, which we appreciate. So it cleans the air of that. And we're going to talk a little bit more about photosynthesis, because there's two processes it does, but that's the second one. So we are going to come back to this. So it pulls that in and gives us that. And that is a very basic function of the tree. It needs CO2 like we need oxygen in order to live. Like this tree right now is benefiting from being this close to me because I'm talking. However, I'm not getting as much benefit because it doesn't give off enough oxygen for me. I need a lot of them. Jerk. It's a very one-sided relationship.
Yeah, tree.
But I still love you.
Yeah.
I'll be a tree hugger. I'll wear that badge proudly.
Yeah.
So it takes in CO2. However, what else the tree will take in, it'll take in sulfurous oxide, it'll take in nitrogen oxide, that's an O, and it'll take in carbon monoxide. Now the tree has no purpose for these. These don't give anything to the tree. It's not needed for any function. It doesn't use it to get oxygen. Photosynthesis, as we know, creates sugars for the tree. And these three, among others, these are the four big hitters. This one is essential, but these three, the tree will pull them in and it gets nothing. And it just basically eradicates them. It gets rid of them, still puts out the oxygen, but these just dissipate. It cleans them out of the air. And that's why you'll see why a lot of places now, especially in industrial parks and around factories and whatnot, are talking about we need more trees. China are really going hard on the trees. And it's good to see because every one of these gases, in high concentrations, they can be deadly. But that's not very fair to say because any gas that we have in a higher concentration than oxygen is not going to be good for us. We need oxygen. So if we deplete the oxygen and increase any gas, we're not going to get what our body needs. So any of these can be fatal. A lot of people have got carbon monoxide detectors in their homes because of this. So not only can these be fatal, but they can also cause massive respiratory problems. I believe it's sulfuric oxide, 2 full lungfuls, so like, and then one more of those can actually cause severe respiratory damage. Now, yeah, that's in a high concentration. That's like basically getting a face full of it. We're not going to get that because it gets into the atmosphere and it mixes, but just 2 lungfuls can cause severe respiratory issues, and not just for us, for birds and all of the other mammals. I don't fully know the science of what happens when it gets into water and fish get it. I imagine not great, but I'm not going to touch on that. I'm talking purely respiratory. And the tree pulls these in and just cleans them for us. So that is one of the reasons why, when it comes to that trees are so essential. And then another really cool thing. So when we have pollutants, when we're burning coal and wood and whatnot, I don't know if anybody recalls, a couple of years ago, I didn't see it last year, but I believe we heard about it. I didn't see it personally. But with the forest fires, the ash falls on us. And I think you said we got messages about that, people saying like they had ash over the leaves of their plants.
Yeah, exactly.
So we have a tree, and it's doing tree things, and it's just cleaning our air, and it's being genuinely awesome, and that's why we love them. But what they can do as well is in the clouds, when those tiny pollutants fall, and they hit the tree, and I'm not talking like a large chunk of ash, I'm talking the tiny irritant pollutions, like size of pepper grains, smaller, and they litter the tree. What we have, this is only being found out somewhat recently. We didn't know this. And with the science we've got, and unfortunately the pollutants we have in the air, we've been able to find this out. I love how I say we. I did no work, okay? I just read the article, okay? That's it. New finding on trees, and I read things like that because I'm a big nerd. But I like to say we. I did nothing. My name is not on the study. But what we've learned is as these airborne pollutants that we would inhale fall on the tree, on the canopy, and even the trunk, the tree absorbs them, and it actually pulls them in. Again, no benefit to the tree, and the tree processes it, pulls out all of the toxins, flushes them into a harmless compound. So it takes these irritants, these things that are going to cause respiratory problems, or if you're already asthmatic, or COPD, or lung cancer, or anything like that, and the air is hard to breathe because of those small irritants, and you're not working effectively, the trees clean out those as well. So they're not only pulling out the gas, they're also actually pulling out the physical particles that we would breathe in. And then, I'll go back to photosynthesis, but I already destroyed that page, so I'm just going to use this page. So, what we know, again, photosynthesis is CO2 and we get oxygen, okay? Real easy. But what happens is the tree, in order to do the photosynthesis, as we know, it also requires light. And I'm not talking about what the tree gets here, okay? We know it's oxygen that it gives out in sugar. But we've already talked about that. This isn't what the tree gets, this is what the tree gives to us. This is all about us today, okay? Ego day. And then the other one here is water. Now, what happens when the rain we just had, an insane amount of rain fell? Okay, well, the plants are loving it, and the trees, they're pulling all of that water up, and they're firing it into their leaves, and the chloroplast is just exploding. It's like tons of explosions happening, and it's creating photosynthesis. So it's cranking it out. However, there is more water than it knows what to do with. Now, it can only absorb so much, and we know that the cells can hold it, and the cell walls can hold it, and it'll hold it in the trunk, and it'll hold it in the leaves, and any cell that it has, it's like, hold water. And the tree's doing that, but eventually there's too much water coming up, and it goes, I can't take this amount of water, I need to get rid of it. And it undergoes a process called transpiration, okay? And it's not transportation. I shouldn't have said that.
Oh no!
Transpiration.
Yeah.
And transpiration, well, you know, I'm just going to throw back here. Tree scientist guy, did you ever consider I'd be writing these words down and my handwriting is atrocious? Can we make words smaller? Could we have just called it spiration?
It's very sciencey.
That's what they do. I swear to God, science are like, how can we make this more sciencey? Makes the word bigger.
Yeah.
Make it harder to pronounce. Science. Smart. But transpiration is basically the tree's way of getting rid of that water vapor. So we have this tree. So now not only is it cleaning the air, it's going to cool the air. Everybody, I believe, I hope, has sat on a hot summer day in the shade of a tree. If you haven't, 10 out of 10 stars, highly recommend. Go sit in the shade of a tree. There are way worse things you can do with your time. No phone, no book, nothing, doesn't matter. Shade of a tree. Cloud watch. It's amazing. But the transpiration, so we know that the tree is cooling the air down because the sunlight is hitting the canopy while it's not coming through. And if it does come through, it's coming through filters. So the air up here can be 30 degrees and the air down here will be 22 degrees. And it'll actually make that much of a difference in air quality and how bearable it is for us. But then that excess water comes out in transpiration and it breathes out these water vapors. So it actually cools all the air around it. That's why when you walk under a tree, it can actually feel instantly cooler on your skin. You can feel that tingle, and it's the water vapors. Then the heat absorbs it, it evaporates the water vapors, pulls it up into the clouds, and we get rain. So not only are trees taking in gases, they're also taking in particles, and they're giving out water vapor to cool the air down. So they're making our air cleaner and more comfortable for us to be in. And they're just doing that. There's no reward. Yeah, okay, the CO2 they need, but that's it. The rest they don't need. There's no benefit to them. Sure, releasing water vapor to get rain, great, wonderful. But when we're talking about the massive trees that do that, there's a good chance that their roots have found an underground water supply. So they're not really relying on the rain. You have a 40-foot tree in your yard, you're probably not out there with your hose watering it. And if you are, you ain't doing much, I'm gonna tell you that. The size of those roots that you're gonna saturate to, it has found water and it's loving life. It's giving that off simply as a byproduct of photosynthesis, but it makes life habitable for us. And that's one of the reasons why life as we know it, as it exists on this planet, would not have happened at any level if it wasn't for plants. They were the ground breakers. They were the ones, the algae and everything else that started everything that we know of today billions of years ago, that created this planet we live on now, and they are still doing it. They're still making it so that we can live. So, wrap that up. Wow, I did get it all in. I think I went a little over time. As you can tell, I could probably talk about that a lot more. I just think it's absolutely incredible that these trees, and we're going to talk more on this tomorrow, everything else they bring to us, the aesthetic, the food, the fruit, the lumber, the heat source, everything that the trees give us. And they also do this. And this is all just a byproduct of them being trees. That's how, you know what? You know what? I'm giving my tree a cake.
Yeah.
Super tree.
Super tree.
There we go. So I hope now you can understand just a tiny bit more on what trees do and why we need trees and why we should appreciate them a heck of a lot more. For the amount of carbon they clean, those noxious gases that would kill us or make air unbreathable, and they just do that by being awesome. So that wraps us up. Enjoy your summer day. Get out there, hug a tree, sit in the shade of a tree. Love it. Just if you drive past a tree, give it the thumbs up. Thanks, Mr. Tree. And we'll see you all tomorrow when we talk about everything else a tree brings to the table. Enjoy your day, everybody. Happy summer.